You're live on the internet.
Hi, Internet. How are you?
Hi, Internet.
All right. You ready to do a show? Okay, let me go.
I don't know. Are you ready to do a show?
Sure money.
There you go. Does that answer your question?
Okay, just want to make sure. I mean, we all know about you and a tree falling in the forest with buttons. Just magically disappears on the fucking...
And you know what? That's not true. If you listen to the end of the show,
You'll put in those little
you'll
things.
find it. But you have to listen to the very, very end.
Yeah,
I don't always put in Easter eggs, but when I do, they're very funny.
yeah. It was her hitting a bunch of buttons, and on the live stream, I was like, yeah, it's very much like if a tree falls in the forest. This is why you listen to the live stream. And then, of course, you hear it, and all of that's gone like it never even happened.
Like I don't cover for your mistakes, too. Come on. I cover for everybody.
You kind of do. Normally, you like to point them out, but that's fine.
No, that's Graham. That is what Graham
definitely.
does.
Graham loves to do that, which honestly, I don't mind. People find it funny, so I don't. Funny is all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. We have no live access. Oh, it's because I got to log out of here on Twitter. All right. Give me a second.
No problem.
I forgot. I'm logged in on my TikTok because I don't have TikTok.
Instead of the DU football show TikTok.
TikTok, you don't stop
Right.
until you do because the app went away and then nobody watches my shit anymore. No, I don't want to delete the account.
Your mom deletes accounts.
You know what? She probably does. I really hope my mom doesn't get sick with the norovirus.
Is that what Katie thinks she has?
I hate you like I'm John.
You're gonna get totally trademarked for that. You know?
Say Drake. I hate you like.
There we go. I figured out how to log out on this. It's not easy.
Not easy.
That was easy.
That was easy.
Welcome to the shit show. Every single day, a new flavor of fuckery, 'cause everybody's such you see, and they're dumber than a bag of rocks. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 4 more days of increasingly stupid, ridiculous, ignorant, vulgar, dash, poppycock, bollocks, and fuckery. All over again.
There we go.
All right, we're good.
Yep. By the way, good news.
Yes.
Our Verizon installation is scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's fucking. They better be doing it before 1 o'clock.
And we got Rob watching us on TikTok.
Oh, hey Rob, what's going
It
on,
might
brother?
not be Rob. It could be. It's usually Rob, though.
But it's just whoever. Hi, how's it going? Hello out there on TikTok.
Oh, I
land.
mean, Twitch
on Twitch. Okay.
versus Kick.
Well, Rob
Not to
is
be
always
confused
Twitch.
with
yeah.
YouTube or Facebook.
All right. Well, let's do a
Fucking
fucking.
everywhere.
Can we do a fucking show?
Okay.
All right. Like that idea.
Hi, I'm Tegan Graham, aka The Better Graham, and this is the DU Football Show.
You know, she has asked and inquired. She wants to be back on the show again real soon. So I told her once her dad was back in the saddle again, we'd have her back in studio.
Yeah, you can only have 1 gram at a time.
No, we can have 2 grams. I think
We have 2 grams.
Yeah,
We don't
we
cancel each other out.
Yeah. Well, Tegan will give him shit the entire time. It'll be fucking great.
Sounds hella zesty.
It is hella zesty. Let's start the show.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston. Sam Houston? Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Snub of my lord. Look straight in shorts. Sam Graham, hey. Sam Graham. Fucking United! Fucking United!
Hello and welcome to the DU Football Show, a completely biased recap of the fourth round of the FA Cup as told by two common American schmucks. I am your host, Sam Houston, and of course, Mr. Graham, one more week of paternity leave and then he's back in the saddle again. But for tonight, of course, being an FA Cup, I have to have a fellow lover of the FA Cup, one of 6 possible Wolves fans in the Baltimore area, our good friend Danny. How you doing, sir?
Doing good.
Excellent. I love it. And of course, on the ones and twos, producer Mel. How we doing over there,
I'm
producer Mel?
doing great. Just waiting for Danny's dozens of followers to check in.
Are you feeling happy?
Any minute
The
now.
studio's back to normal.
Now,
You're in your
am.
big comfy chair. Everything's good.
I got a nice big chair. I've got my duck behind me. I've got a plant. I've got space, and I've got alcohol.
Okay. And you shoot it all over your keyboard. That was really good.
No, all over my screen, and I just washed it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because, well, remember, Danny had mentioned that they like to really fill their cans big full. And we're recording at the DU Public House just outside the nation's capital, and you can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, streaming live every single Monday night. Should you want to chat with us, there is many ways that you can. Mrs. Houston, why don't you tell the good people how they can get in touch?
Well, you can email us. You can send us a carrier pigeon. We accept Morse code, telegraph, faxes, rotary phones. But the easiest way is dufootballshow@gmail.com.
Very good. And on all the socials?
DU Football Show.
Very good. You just really like to add
Our
too much
website?
into No.
A DU Football Show.
Just
Our
your-
t-shirt site, DUDripshack.com.
Live journal?
DU Football Show.
I can't believe I'm about to say this. He can't come back fast enough. Sam and myself both work in the wine and spirit industry and both have a deep, passionate love for all things distilled spirits. So is the red-blooded Americans we are. We vow to have a drink in our hand throughout this show and every single show. The list continues. We are about to crack the top 10 next week. So now we drink number 11. Danny, what are we enjoying tonight?
We are enjoying, well, we'll see if I enjoy it, the Ardbeg Spectacular. That's Spanish, right? This is number 11 from the tasting panel. The panel rating is 93, and David Savona says, Ardbeg has a reputation for scotch that screams with peat and smoke. This new creation, which marks the first time that Ardbeg has ever used port pipes for maturation, shows balance and restraint that belie its over-the-top name. Yes, the peat is there, but also candied walnut, orange peel, grilled meat, and pleasant minerality. This is a mix of whiskeys aged 9 to 13 years, roughly 1/3 matured in bourbon barrels, the rest in port casks. The finish is exceptionally long, fitting for a dram if you want to taste again and again.
All right. So last week we did the Angel's Envy cask strength, which is a port finish also. And I had said very specifically that I felt port wood finish was too much for a corn whiskey, and that port really lends itself towards barley. Most times when you're doing barley, like a single malt, it is Speyside that doesn't have a lot of peat interaction. The peatier Islay whiskeys, because this is an Islay, they're all very, very peaty. You think of Lagavulin and Lefroy, things of that nature. A little bit of Band-Aid, a little bit of iodine to it with that peat smoke. You don't normally do wine barrels with it, but wine barrel works.
It softens it.
It really
You
softens
don't
it.
lose the power punch you get from a peaty scotch, but it softens it. And that long finish is more like a deep throat.
It's very good. It is very, very good. And in comparisons, like, and I told everybody last week, I mean, I have my own biases towards Angel's Envy. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not. There will be people when they come over for the whiskey show that'll drink it and they'll really, really like the Angel's Envy. This is a better representation of what you should do with port and whiskey. A much, much, much better representation. It is quite good. I'm going to definitely throw some over ice. What was the price point on that, by the way? I forgot.
That is $130.
I think I got it for like $120 or right at $130.
Yeah.
But not hard to find. This is not a hard bottle of whiskey to find at all. Now, if you're a peat head, you're going to love this whiskey. This screams Isla, right? And the Ardbegs are always famous for being that. They're always famous for being kind of punch you in the face, really big peaty whiskeys. But
Yeah.
I want to hit this again a little bit more once we get to...
A common theme when I'm here is that I am not really a whiskey person, but
Right.
also you guys choose good whiskeys, and so I'm always like, I don't really like peaty whiskeys, but this one I kind of get down with.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that again. On a very, very rare occasion, I will occasionally smoke a pipe,
Right.
and it gives me all the pleasant notes from that, where it's just nice and smooth.
Good call. That's a very good call. Also, with this guy, too, weather plays factor into it. We're about to have snow tomorrow. There's a little chill in the air. Whiskey without
Good
the
call.
E really hits the spot on those times. Scottish whiskey just seems to hit different when it's cold, when it's real cold, when there's snow on the ground, especially the big peaty whiskeys. They're hard for me to enjoy, like, on a spring day, even with a little crisp in the air. People are like, "Ooh, yeah, I have a peaty whiskey." I'm like, "Nah, can't do it, man." Like, it makes me think of a campfire. It's way too
Yep.
hot for me.
Yep.
But ice takes a little edge off of it, which I really, really like. This is quite lovely.
That's nice.
Really, really lovely. I'm quite impressed. And again, when you're going to do Portwood, an old wine, barley just seems to hang better than corn does. I think the sweetness of the port with the sweetness of the corn, they just kind of get lost in one another, and you kind of lose sight of the fact that it's bourbon that you're drinking, and it just kind of comes off as like highly alcoholic port to me is my issue with it. All right, so what else do we always need to make sure we do, Danny?
We need to make sure we drink responsibly.
Very good. Let's cheers to that, good
Oh,
sir.
yes. Cheers.
All right. We open with big clubs having troubles with lesser opponents, and the country's top club bows out of the competition. Manchester United 2, Leicester 1, Man City 1, Leyton Orient 1, Plymouth Argyle 1, Liverpool 0. There's an overriding theme to this first segment. All three of these games were really bad. They weren't enjoyable watches, but
Absolutely.
the story is bigger than the actual match itself. United figure out a way to win, and that's fine. But United figure out a way to win in the most Sir Alex way ever, because VAR is not in this competition. And you get to remember, oh, that's right, referees are biased, and suddenly forget when 4 fucking people are standing in an offside position on a free fucking kick. Jeez, you could count the people that were offsides, and you see the linesman lined up directly even with it, and he doesn't raise the flag. That is the most Sir Alex shit I have ever seen in my life since Sir Alex has retired from football.
Absolutely right. But I'm still going to say I'd prefer it without VAR. So
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Well, because then we are brought back to, because there's going to be a couple of times we bring that up, where we're just brought back to the conversation of, did the ref make the wrong call? Or,
Right.
oh, refs favor bigger clubs, right?
exactly.
In this instance, each one of these you'll look at and you'll be like, oh, yeah, VAR was there. They definitely would have caught it. But in the same regards, kind of with you, it's like, I'd rather have this discussion and just say the refs, live in my Alex Jones sattery fucking world where I'm convinced that, the frickin' frogs are gay and all of that. And that all the refs are for the big 6 clubs and don't care about anything else, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's because we could just do case closed here. It's like, well, the ref fucked up, or the ref just sees what they want to see when they're at Old Trafford or whatever. But instead with VAR, we have to sit there and litigate for sometimes weeks about whether it would pass the threshold to uphold a call or whatever nonsense. Like,
do we need to change the handball rule? Do we need the new Arsene Wenger
can't do it
offside
anymore.
rule with notable space between the play? Like,
please no.
can we just fucking play footy? Like, just how about we play footy? Footy would be great.
Yeah.
Now, for United, are we supposed to be impressed by this? Are we like, because this is the shit United has loved to do despite what manager it is. Because this happened with Ole and this happened with Ten Hag. It's happening now where they win this like kind of run of really unimpressive victories, but next thing you know, they're gonna have won like 8 in a row,
Right.
And you're gonna be like, they're not good, right?
Right.
Like, they're still not good.
Yeah. I think like a theme in these three, and especially for the two Manchester clubs, is that like I don't really think that it would give the fans any kind of comfort over this. You know, it's like, I mean, especially speaking as a Wolves fan, watching a bunch of fruitless victories this season, and I say a bunch, being pretty generous, a very small number of fruitless victories where it's like you win, but you don't really get any answers to important questions.
Nothing.
It's kind of exactly the same. It looks exactly the same as a loss, except that at the end of the full time, your team has more goals than the other team.
Right, and you have 3 points and you move up the table while our clubs are down at the bottom going, fuck, I would kill for that. I would kill for the most nonsensical, non-deserving win ever. I would love to have that happen for us. And it's just the pure luck of the fact that you have billions of dollars put into your lineup that someone finds a glimmer of hope for a moment to be able to pull some luck out of their ass and score a goal. That's what this game was. I mean, it just epitomized it. It epitomized what Manchester United has been for probably the last 4 seasons straight. Yep. And this is now a team I'm actively I want to see lose and fall out of the cup, because this is going to be their only way into Europe.
Oh, absolutely.
And they'll do exactly what they did last year and backdoor their way into a European spot and get money they don't deserve and not have to be held to the same standards as everybody else simply because they backdoored their way into something. And so for me, I just want to see them lose. I don't care who it is they lose. I just want to see them fucking lose. And I don't want it to get to the final, because last year it got to the final. We're like, oh, City's going to wipe the floor with them. Wrong.
Is this the like big money clubs version of like, you know, for like Wolves fans, it's like there's always the toying with the idea of like, oh, well, if we got relegated, would our bad owners leave? Like, would things be better after that? For fans of United, is it kind of like, well, is it actually better to fall out of the cup and then like have a rebuild year where we're not in any additional competitions? We don't have an excuse to buy unnecessary players or whatever. I mean, it's like, for our perspective, we're like, God, I wish I had those problems. But
so I was talking about this the other week, and it happened to Tottenham where they weren't in any competitions. Now, of course, they're having a terrible year this year, but it did help them, right?
Right.
It happened to Arsenal. It has helped them.
Right.
It happened to Liverpool. It has helped them. It happened to Chelsea. It has helped them. This would help United.
Yeah.
Just worrying about the league, just getting their shit straight. It would help them a lot to not have the other distractions.
If I thought that their ownership could get their shit straight, which I don't, I mean,
no, they can't.
United fans have probably even less hope than I do that that's going to happen.
And I have no faith in the United fans to actually be okay with taking a step back.
Right.
They still live in that world of we're Manchester United, we're the biggest club in the world, we should be winning everything.
Yeah. And it just feels like if they win the cup like they did last year, it just repeats the same cycle.
Rewarding bad behavior.
Where it's just like, okay, cool, business as usual. Let's overspend in the summer on people we don't need.
Exactly.
You know?
It'll be exactly what happens again. They will reward bad behavior, and the fans are just as bad about it as the ownership, as the players, as the coaches, as all of them. They are all that bad.
Yeah.
For Leicester, how much longer does Van Nistelrooy get? I can't imagine he gets much longer before he's sacked.
Yeah. I mean, that last loss in the league was such a gut punch. And I just think that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's always hard to predict a two sacking season for a team, because you think at some point, well, you just are resigned to your fate. But I mean, the reality is they're not resigned to their fate. I think like Wolves have started to put something together. But even if we
They're still there.
even if we put something pretty good together, we could still be mathematically dragged back into it very easily.
Everton still got to get a couple, 2-3 more wins. They
Right.
have to, right?
Yeah.
And if the ball bounces the right way and suddenly you win, like they win and Ipswich wins and we lose a couple and you lose a couple, and then suddenly that gets a lot fucking tighter.
And to your point about Van Nistelrooy, I think of the three of us, so Leicester, Ipswich, and Wolves, I think like Leicester feel more like the odd man out. They feel closer to Southampton, where it's like, I don't know that there's really a plan here, except
Right.
that you have a player who's 37 who can still put it in the net.
That's kind of the plan.
So like, if there's like a way that you can get a new head coach in who can at least have a plan, you might still get relegated with that plan, but it becomes worth it at that point.
Now, moving on to City and Leyton Orient, the O's, every Londoner's second club. Everybody loves the O's, right?
Yeah.
Just everyone loves the O's. And it was at Leyton Orient, which was great. So not the best of pitches for the prima donnas that are
Yes.
from the Prem. I know the goal got registered as an own goal, but what a fucking goal by Donnelly.
good.
It was so, like just the awareness to go, oh, he's out real far. Fuck it. Let me have a go. Let me go ahead and put it up there. City's defense is a fucking mess, man.
Yeah.
It's a real deal mess. And we saw that as Arsenal just recently kicked the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Right. And like, great, you advanced in the cup for City, but it's like, you can't feel good about this one. You escaped. You're Manchester City and you did a smash and grab on Leyton Orient. Just let that digest for a second. Hold that in your palate and think about what you're tasting right now. Like, it was a great second goal by De Bruyne. I mean, it was a beautiful goal, gorgeous run. But that should have been goal number 7.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that should have been just the ass whooping that you expected it to be. And the O's hung in there. Keeley, their keeper, was immense. He had a couple of right off the goal line saves. And if he didn't save it off the goal line, his defense was kicking it off the goal line. It was just one of those games where until City finally scored around the 70th minute, it was just like, fuck, they might not put it in the net. They might not put it in the net at all.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It's like I said about the previous game, where it's just, the game itself probably felt more like a loss, especially to the players. I mean, like it's been said before, but man, De Bruyne looks so weary,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just like, it's emblematic of the whole thing where it's like, yeah, we won and we were supposed to win, but it was hard in all the way that our previous league games have been hard, and it shouldn't have been. And why can't we get this thing together and beat Leyton Orient?
Yeah. With De Bruyne, you know what he kind of felt like? He felt like Belgian national team player Kevin De Bruyne. That's just like, well, we got 40-year-olds playing defense for us. Like, I'm just waiting for him to call people out. Like, you can just tell how frustrated he is as a whole. And frankly, he's not even getting minutes, because when he is on the pitch, other than scoring a fucking smash and grab from Leyton Orient, he hasn't been impactful in any match that he's come on to either.
Yeah.
Which is even worse. It's like, you normally marquee players like that, you could tell they're starting to decline, but it's not a full-fledged just dive off the cliff. And that's what it's kind of been for him in particular. And yeah, City has other pieces. And of course, I mean, they just spent another, what, $2 billion on 4 players?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a shame one of them got hurt in this game. Oh no, gosh. But it's as a whole, it's like, okay, you won. And we'll get on to their draw at the end.
Oh my
We'll
God.
save that for the end. That's the best way to end the whole show. The whole show, that's the best way to end it, is that. But the first 2 games, really not good, but at least they got results. In the case of Liverpool, this match was dreadful to watch.
Oh my God.
Was absolutely, and it was like Arne Slot in the pregame interview was like, this team's going to play 10 behind the ball. They're going to be tough. They're going to play long balls. We need to break them down. He knew exactly what they were going to do.
Right.
still couldn't crack the fucking code. They couldn't do anything.
Yep.
They did nothing.
Yeah.
Legitimately nothing. Their first shot came in the last 10 minutes of the fucking game.
Yeah.
Like, let that one sink in. This is Liverpool fucking Football Club.
Yeah.
This is arguably the best team in the world right now.
Yep.
I know they didn't start all their starters, yada, 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 yada. That should mean fuck all. Their third team should be better than the worst team in the championship.
Yeah. And it's even worse than that in a way because they didn't start children, you know?
Yeah.
They started players who arguably are all sitting there waiting in line to start in the league.
Guys who have gotten starts.
Yeah. And I mean, yes, there were a couple kids who were involved, but literally all of those people are one fairly minor injury away from starting in the league. Mm-hmm. And you'd think that literally all of them would want to be next in line. And the best way to do that is to show up in this game, no matter who the opponent is.
Yeah.
This is where I reveal that much like Arne Slot, I did not take this game very seriously because I assumed I knew what would happen. So I went to see a revival screening of The Dark Crystal by Jim Henson at 10 a.m. that morning. And then I got out of the theater and saw the result. And I was like, what have I done? But then I went back and, of course, tried to watch the replay. And just like you said, I couldn't even watch it. I was like, I can't. This is brutal to watch.
When the ball comes into the box, it is very important to get big, wide, arms out, everything, if you're the goalkeeper, not if you're a midfielder. And I love the look of, what do you mean that's a handball? Like, dude, you were like Dikembe Mutombo coming down to smack that thing. No,
Yeah.
not in my house. That's what you were like. Are you kidding me? It was dead on a handball, and of course, great goal. And then for the keeper Hazard for Plymouth, he didn't have to do a damn thing till the last 10 minutes of the game. He made 2 brilliant fucking saves, but he didn't have to do anything. Liverpool never offered really anything in the match.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if, Gakpo and Salah are out there, you probably have a different outcome. If Van Dijk's out there, probably have a different. Yeah, of course you do. But he purposely left these guys off the team. They didn't even travel. They stayed home. They didn't even go down to Plymouth. So, in some regards, you get what you deserve. The whole a good thing for Slot is he can use this as motivation, right? And couldn't come at a better time considering their next match is the final Merseyside derby at Goodison Park.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's kind of a red flag. Not that I really think it's a signal that Liverpool aren't going to win the league or whatever, but or that they're going to drop off in any significant way. But to be honest, these are players that should want more game time, will want more game time. They didn't do anything in this game to give them more game time, and now they're out of another competition where they would have gotten played.
Right.
And it's now what are you waiting for? You're waiting for literally, Cody Gakpo to get injured or something.
Soon,
and it's just that's not a particularly good position to be in. I think that from a Liverpool fan's perspective, I'm assuming, it's the being out of the competition is not the end of the world, quadruple, blah, blah, blah. Right. But the bigger...
It's never happened for a reason because it's fucking damn near close to impossible to do.
The bigger problem is that these are the players that you might need to step up if the title race becomes tighter and you have to pull something out that's really important and you have an injury or whatever. And they didn't step up against Plymouth Argyle.
Right. You're going to need to know that these backups can do more than register 2 shots on goal against the last place team in the fucking championship.
Yeah.
It's time to see how the rest of the Prem fared when who punched their card into the 5th round. Bournemouth 2, Everton 0, Ipswich 4, Coventry 1, Fulham 2, Wigan 1, Burnley 1, Southampton 0, Newcastle 3, Birmingham City 2, Brighton 2, Chelsea 1, Villa 2, Spurs 1, Wolverhampton 2, Blackburn 0, Palace 2, Doncaster 0, and still to be played, Nottingham Forest heading to Exeter City. really bad match for James Tarkovsky. It was such a bad, he was really bad. And Everton, it was just a constant comedy of errors in the first half. They couldn't seem to clear a ball correctly once. The pen was a dead on pen, no doubt about it. As soon as you saw the replay, you're like, oh, did he get some ball? It's like, no, he wasn't even close. And then the second goal that got scored should have been scored 5 minutes earlier when they fucked up exactly like that in front of the net. The good thing for Everton is the new signing, Carlos Alcaraz, played really well in the second half. They looked like they offered something. They put the ball off the post 3 times, but also how much of that is Bournemouth sitting back and just going, let's get through this.
Right.
So just an overall really bad day at the office ultimately for Everton. And for Bournemouth, you didn't start key guys. You were able to give them rest. You brought them on later in the game to see it out, but you were able to give good guys rest. You're still in the cup, and this is starting to feel like a dark horse team to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost go a step further and say not even a dark horse, a bright horse, a light horse, I don't know, a white horse. And we'll get onto this because you said we're going to talk about the draw, but like genuinely, like the team that I was more worried about drawing was Bournemouth because a lot of the other, obviously a bunch of the big teams are no longer in it, as we just talked about. And then also like a lot of the big teams look fallible, you know, in a way that Bournemouth don't. And again, we'll probably talk about it when we talk about the draw, but like it feels like there are ways to rotate and there are ways to rotate, you know, like there is like what Liverpool did, which most teams obviously don't really have access to. But then there's like, what is the bare minimum of rotation that you need to do to stay competitive in the league? And that's like, I think a lot of Wolves fans were happy. We'll get onto this. But with, you know, the lineup that got put out, because it was like, this is still strong. And the changes that were made were clearly due to like, this person was recently suspended. And so having them play now means that they'll be fit for the next league game.
Right,
it's like these like kind of logical things.
It's the Cherries kept their spine.
Yeah, exactly.
Starting keeper, starting 2 center backs, starting 2 central midfielders. Like they kept their spine.
Yeah. Throw in some fringe players, get the job done, make the subs that are appropriate when you need to make them.
Right. Let some kids get some opportunity to play. One of them scored a damn goal.
Right.
Right. Like
bonus.
And then you get in the guys when you need them to see the match out. You know. And you know, for Everton, it's a shame. You would have liked to have stuck around in this competition just simply because it's the last year of Goodison. Yada yada yada. And more for it just to survive. Really, this year, I know it's the last year, but it's also, let's just fucking survive.
Right.
We're going to have a lot of money in the summer. We're going to have a new stadium. We're going to have a lot more revenue coming in. Like, just fucking finish 13th and be done with it. And who cares? just don't over fucking think it. Just get out of it, you know? And we can look at the past several years and just go, we fucking survived it. We didn't go down. We're good. And just move on. And that's what you got to do. Really good day at the office for Ipswich. They did the same thing. They did a little bit of rest for some players as well. And yeah, Coventry tied it pretty quickly, but it was never really in doubt.
Yeah. This was one that I tuned into because I thought that there was a chance that Ipswich would focus more on the league.
Right.
And I think that for the first, whatever it was, 30 minutes or so until you got the second Ipswich goal, I thought that it looked competitive and that, like, you know, Coventry gave a good account of themselves. There was a chance there. Ipswich didn't really, like, have much.
Right.
But then once they got that second, it was kind of floodgates opened, and you could see the difference between the two teams. It was like, okay, the end. Which was a bit disappointed for me. But
now, on the other side, we talked about people going on the road in the first segment. Fulham had to head on out to Wigan, and not an easy day at the office for them. Wigan definitely made it tough. I mean, now ultimately they get the win. They went up once. Wigan equalized. They scored very quickly thereafter. But this is a team they probably should have beaten handedly. You know, like this is lower half of the table in League One. Like this is a team they should have probably put stones to. This is one you should have beat 3-4-0. Like, and you allowed it to be competitive, which wasn't good.
yeah. I mean, I think the last time we were on here, we talked about how we liked Fulham and we liked Marco Silva and what he was doing. But I haven't like watched enough of them, I guess. But I just feel like they're starting to slow down in a way that is like kind of predictable, which doesn't mean that they can't find it again. But this is like kind of that kind of performance where you're like, oh, is this exposing like kind of the thing that we've been slowly seeing over the last couple months?
My only knock I had on Fulham going into the start of the season was this team is sneaky older than you think they are.
Yeah.
They're a lot older than you think they are, and they're playing a lot, and it's starting to show. And Marco isn't really rotating the squad a ton, which he probably should be doing. I know he's been kind of riding the Jimenez train, like, you should have them legitimately switching off game for game, really kind of battling for that striker spot. Like, you want that good competition going on.
Right.
And he seems to kind of just be relying on certain people all the time. And just you're right. It's just starting to show a little. And you go, ooh, who's that team that might fade at the end of the year and miss out on Europe? And you feel like Fulham's that team.
Yeah. It's not like red alert time yet, but it's just like,
absolutely no one is surprised that Burnley won this game.
God damn it.
No one's surprised at all, because you are talking about the last place team in the Premier League and you're talking about the third place team in the Championship. No one's surprised by the outcome.
Yeah.
Everyone's probably really disappointed that watched it because it was an absolute dog shit match. And it took to the 70th minute for Burnley to finally score a goal. This is two ships passing in the night. One will likely be in the Prem. One will likely be in the Championship. And it aren't the teams that are currently in their respective leagues.
I hated watching this game. I have a very good friend who's a Southampton fan. And so I was watching it also because the show and whatever, but it just like, and like you said, they're close in the overall system, but good Lord, Scott Parker, you have wasted so many hours of my life watching your god awful football.
Just not a good match. Like,
yeah, it was just like Southampton were not particularly good because I think that they are not a particularly good team, which we have seen through the season. But I also think that they have an identity and they are trying to do something. And I respect that on some level. Burnley have nothing except for passing it sideways. I don't know what it is that they have. It's clearly working fine in the Championship, but it is so boring to watch.
They have good young talent that they got when Vincent Kompany was there, and they were playing a very aggressive style of play.
Yeah.
Scott Parker, frankly, you or I could go coach that team to a limited amount of success because there is good young talent on that team, but you feel like they've regressed from what Vincent Kompany was doing with them.
Can he just go away and start a menswear brand already?
Yeah, exactly. Just go be handsome somewhere, man. You look great in a cable neck sweater and a petticoat. Just go do that, man.
Could he be the next James Bond?
He could be. Brighton beat Chelsea. Woo. I mean, all I really have to say about the match is,
in my way downtown, walking fast. I'm a seagull. Go fuck yourself.
It wasn't a very entertaining match.
No.
Neither team particularly seemed to really want it.
Yeah.
The one thing I wonder with Chelsea in particular, because Brighton, we've kind of beaten it to nauseum. It's a very young team with a very young manager. There's going to be inconsistencies. There's no real true out and out striker. There's lots of people who could score goals, but no, and that's a problem, right? You need that focal point. And that is what it is. With Chelsea, I wonder if this wasn't this year, like if this happened last year, they'd be screaming for the manager's head. Like if this happened under Potter or under Frank either time or under Pochettino, like people would be losing their damn minds.
Right.
I guess it's something about the quality early start that was so good that they're okay. But
yeah,
I wonder what Maresca's world's going to be next year when the expectation is going to be this team is going to win the league. Mel, what do you got for us?
Ben Holmes says just move past it.
Chelsea supporter.
yeah.
Like there's.
I mean, I I have only watched Chelsea beat Wolves in 2 very embarrassing games for us, and then otherwise paid attention to them to the extent that I need to for FPL.
Right.
But it just feels very much like there is a certain amount of patience because of the sort of like original virtue that Maresca brought in, which was I'm going to deal with this group of people, and the other group of people, they're not in my plans, and I'm done with that.
Right.
So like that brought in a decent amount of goodwill once you saw them get a good start, and you see all these young talented players like hitting it and like doing well,
Right.
and they're just playing with freedom, and that's exciting. And you think like, okay, this is the beginning of a rebuild. We now have these young players, and we are doing something, and kind of results don't matter this season.
Right.
As long as we finish reasonably high the table, again, like going out of the cup, probably not that big a deal for them.
Right.
Like,
right.
especially in terms of money, who gives a damn? But like you say, next season is going to be a completely different story.
Oh yeah, next season the expectation will be win the fucking league.
Yeah.
Especially considering Arsenal hasn't shown that they can do it.
Yeah.
City is on somewhat of a downward spiral, and
Yeah.
and that can still be the case for next year because there are clear-cut pieces that need to be fixed. And it isn't just bringing Rodri back that's going to fix this
Right.
team, right? There's very notable problems with their defense, and once they get past, they have a bunch of really talented outside guys that can never seem to be good enough to play every game,
Yeah.
right? So, and then you couple that with, okay, well, what is Liverpool going to be like minus Mo Salah?
Right.
Right? So the expectation is going to be win the fucking league.
Yeah.
And we've all known Chelsea supporters to not be the most patient people in the world. They're just, for some reason, this year everything's fucking, gumdrops and rainbows. But I don't get it. It's an odd thing. So producer Mel, before we talk about the good part of your world, you need to tell me, do you want barrel-aged, original, or white girl mistakes?
I'll let Danny pick since he came all this way.
Danny, what would you like to give
Oh,
producer Mel?
To pick, I'll just go original. I'm not going to do anything weird.
Very good. Well, we saved Mel's shot of Malort from last week. As,
You're going to give it to him to pour me? He
As they
doesn't know how
lost.
much to pour. Give him a guy.
I told him already how much to pour. A full fucking glass is what I told him. All the way to the brim is what I told him.
Son of a bitch.
But we thought it's only fitting because it is also somewhat of a derby.
Are you talking about us beating Spurs? Oh, that's right. Lannisters versus...
Yeah. The Lannisters versus the Starks.
Oh, thank you.
And we figured we would save your shot of Malort for a while Danny was here, and he could get the satisfaction of giving it to you. In fact, Danny was watching on YouTube live last week just to see if you did your shot.
I saw a message in. He goes, I fast forward to find it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, well, the Bella.
Yeah, tastes great, doesn't
It's been a while.
it? It's been a while. Villa should have put this game to bed before halftime.
Yes.
It was 1-0. It should have been 3 or 4-0. Tottenham's defense is in fucking shambles.
Yeah.
Now that they are out of the League Cup and out of the FA Cup, I don't know if Ange keeps his job past this weekend after they play United. I don't think Europe matters. I don't see him keeping his job much longer.
Dr. Pepper doesn't work.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper doesn't work. Not a good chaser.
No, Dr. Pepper, not a good chaser.
Not a good chaser. Gotcha.
This is the segment of the show where I really wish that I brought more haterade from Peabody because the thought that these two teams,
Not good either.
Spurs and United, are going into a game against each other where it has the tone of a team like an Everton
Right.
playing someone who's going to get relegated. Like you're going into playing against Southampton and your manager's kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you lose this one, you really shouldn't lose to this shit team.
Right.
But the two teams are Spurs and United.
And
where
it's the marquee matchup. It's the Sunday game, no competition on national TV.
it's like, Edge, don't lose to Manchester United. They're terrible.
Yeah, and you're at home. You're at home. Like, this is it, Pud. This is it. We know you win something in your second year. Well, you're not going to this year unless you do it in Europe. prove that you can win a game at least, please.
I need to continue on the hater train for one more second. So Kevin Danso is a center back who we were strongly linked with. Literally all the major journalists said he is getting on a plane today to go to do his medical. And then half an hour later, it was between when I decided to go get a beer after we beat Villa and when I arrived to go get the beer that somebody, like one of the respected journalists, said, wait, Spurs have hijacked this player.
Jesus.
Kevin Danso has been there for 2 games, and they are now out of both cup competitions.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Which, I mean, like, to be fair, he's going for the London club scene. He's not going to win trophies. We all know that.
No. That's exactly what he's doing.
But yeah, I mean, this game, again, to continue on the theme of me being a hater, it's always enjoyable to watch these big money teams continue to make bad decisions and continue to fail constantly. And Spurs, interestingly, have transcended to that point. This has happened only rarely, where it's like actually almost painful to watch. Like I almost wanted them to figure it out, because it's like now becoming actively painful to watch them not just like play poorly, but to watch like Ange on the sideline with the same face on, which is like, dude, I could have told you this is exactly what was going to happen. Like you said, Villa should have put this to bed earlier.
Yeah, and the one is flattering because that was in the 92nd minute.
Yeah.
It was it's flattering at best because Villa had put the game to bed. It was already over. And it just
This was like, it was kind of like the Super Bowl for me. I was like, this game kind of feels like a shutout, and I'm kind of offended that you scored near the end.
Right. Honestly, it was last night's Super Bowl. The Eagles completely dominated the Chiefs, yet the Chiefs somehow got 22 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm impressed, really. That's fucking awesome. Well done.
I mean, Mel knows better than us, but like against a team with 0 fit center backs. Like,
Yeah, exactly it. And I don't want to watch the match Sunday. I'm going to watch the match on Sunday.
Of course.
I don't want to. There's nothing about that storyline that's even interesting to me. Just let me know if Ange got fired or not after the game.
it is going to be like watching a Saw movie.
Oh, it's going to be terrible. It's just going to be absolutely terrible. As we mentioned before, murder porn. I only have one thing to say about the Wolves match, and obviously I'll let you kind of go with it, is the minute Blackburn had the goal taken away from him, following the championship from an outsider's perspective, the way I have, they're in the playoff spots. This team notoriously, for the last several years, does not score any goals.
Yeah.
So the minute they didn't score that goal and you guys got your goal, I went, done and dusted. Wolves are winning. It's over. It's already over.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think that our games are probably really boring to outsiders, which this season is probably pretty true. And this one felt kind of like, apart from the like kind of ruled out goal, and you can discuss whether or not it should have been ruled out, whatever. It was very much in that genre of like, if there's VAR, does it get ruled out? And blah, blah, blah. I would argue that the foul the free kick was from wasn't a foul, but like whatever.
Right.
Apart from that, there like kind of wasn't much to tell, because those two goals that we scored in quick succession really looked like, oh, this is a Premier League team playing a championship team. Like, it's like we exploited something very quickly that they were not prepared for and don't really have the players to deal with. Right. So the first goal comes from one of our center backs dispossessing Todd Cantwell, you know, and it's like, I'm not super surprised that he was not like situationally aware enough and strong enough to like deal with that sudden press, you know, like that did not surprise me in any sense. And similarly, it was like a very back to front, a center back, just like putting it all the way forward. It was our new center back all the way up to Hee-Chan Wang, right on the edge of the box, that set up the second goal. And it was just like, yeah, there's kind of like nothing that they're going to do about that. And then, yes, the rest of the game, I mean, like, honestly, like they had some bright moments, but it was like, in stark contrast to some of the earlier games we talked about, this was one where it's like, this wasn't a good looking game, but it also gives me a certain amount of confidence for the rest of our season. Cause like, I would like to see out some games, and this was a game that we saw out,
Right.
even if it's against a shit opponent.
This is when you play Southampton, when you play Ipswich, when you play Leicester, when you play Everton. This
Yeah.
is what you want to see.
Yep.
This is what you want to see. And this was a carbon copy of exactly what your third round game was against Bristol City.
Yeah.
You
Also,
beat two
atmosphere
teams
was
in-
shit, apparently.
Yeah. You beat two teams in the championship that are both in the top half of the table.
Yep.
Woo.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it was very, very cut and dry. It really was. I stuck with it and watched it, but I was just like, I mean, it's decided already. It's 2-0. This match
Yeah.
is over.
When
it's
the
already
highlight
over.
is that our center back got out of a 2v1 in his own box with a pirouette, and this guy's like 6'5".
Yeah.
That tells you how exciting the rest of the game was.
there was not much to it. I didn't put it in here, even though I have it up top. I forgot to mention was the Newcastle and Birmingham City match. I didn't put it in the notes. Arguably one of the most entertaining matches of the weekend. That one was really good, and you know what it was? It was a proper Brummy beating, right?
Yeah.
Like. Newcastle found a way, but Birmingham City came in and they were going to play dirty, and they were going to play mean, and they were going to beat the shit out of them, and that's exactly what they did. And their goals weren't pretty, but they counted, and it for Newcastle. I honestly, that's a pat yourself on the back, man. You got out of a game that was a dogfight, and you figured out a way to fucking get the W. Good on you, man.
Yeah. This was very much in its time slot. Like, you see that first goal come up early, and you're like, hold on, whatever I was watching, I'm now watching this.
Moving over here now.
You got my attention.
Yeah. And then of course today's match was Palace and Doncaster. Munoz shouldn't have been on the pitch. Like, again, if there was VAR, that's an automatic sending off. It was hands down a red card. He should have been gone. And then he is the goal scorer. It's like, Doncaster made a great account of themselves. It was in their building. They played fantastic. They had a couple of opportunities to put the ball in the net that they barely missed on, but Palace did what Palace was supposed to do.
Yep.
You're going to a smaller club's building. This is their FA Cup final.
Yeah.
And you figured out a way to get the win in advance. It's all that matters.
Yep.
Right.
And it's boring, but it's like I said earlier, where it's like, this is the way you rotate, where it's like, you kept the parts that are dangerous,
Right.
and you got out with the win.
Well, and you can look at this and you could see the third round is normally where the big upsets happen. Something normally an upset like a la Plymouth happens with Liverpool in the fourth round. This tournament starts to get very chalky very quickly.
Yep.
And that's kind of what today was. And of course, previewing what's going to be tomorrow, because obviously we're recording the night before with Forest and Exeter. The only thing Exeter has going for them is that Forest has to go to their building.
Right.
So if Forest isn't on it, you can get them. But Forest should win this game. It's what should happen.
They should. I mean, and I expect them to, just based on my experience, watching Nuno coaching a lot of games, especially, in the Cups. There is a scenario where, because they have to sort of come out, like he would probably prefer to be able to sit back a little more. And there is a scenario where they just keep them out and then score a weird goal somehow. Like, it is very possible. I literally watched Wolves go play Chorley in the FA Cup and win by a single goal. It's like, it is possible. And I think that could very well happen. But I mean, I expect Forest all day.
Yeah, you like you said, Nuno does not want to have to go to the game. He wants to let the game come to him.
And it's one of those things where if Forest scores a goal at any time, and especially early, then it's over. It's just like, now
done.
we're going to rip you apart as you have to come out.
And the game won't be a 1-0 final. It'll be a 5-0 final because Exeter will have to start to push.
Yeah.
They will counter and score, and then it's 2-0. Then they have to push even harder. They'll counter and score again, and they'll just do that the rest of the game. So that's, ultimately what Nuno wants it to be.
Yep.
And like you said, the one thing that could be tough is they actually have to control the pace of play. They actually have to push the narrative, and Exeter gets them and puts them on their heels. That's what could be interesting. All right, and that's pretty much what we're down to now. Potentially 11, I think 11 Premier League sides. But unless Exeter City gets through, only Premier League and Championship sides left. Rounding out the rest of the fourth round, and so that happened. Cardiff 3, Stoke 3, 4-3 to Cardiff on penalties. Preston 0, Wickham 0, 4-2 on Preston in penalties, and Millwall 2, Leeds 0, and the fifth round draw. Cardiff City and Stoke was the most entertaining game of the entire weekend. It was the best game, hands down, no doubt about it. Nobody watched it because it was two championship sides.
Yeah.
It was hands down the best. I mean, this went from an early 2-0 lead for Cardiff to then a 3 unanswered 3-2 lead for Stoke, for Cardiff to come back and get the equalizer. And then the two teams, I'm kind of to the point that if we're just going to go to penalty, like I'd rather them just get rid of, do like the FA Cup.
What is the point?
Get rid of the extra time, because if it's, unless it's a really good team, like a Premier League team playing against the League One side,
Yeah.
both teams are just going to see it out to penalties. Like you saw that already with Arsenal and Manchester United. They didn't go at each other in the third round.
Right.
They played it out to penalties. Like that's just what the teams are going to do.
And that's what I was expecting with the United Leicester game too.
Yeah. Oh, that it was
And
going
it
to go to
almost
penalties.
was.
Well, except for, the ref magically didn't see 4 fucking people offsides.
Yeah.
Right in front of his face, right down the line. Didn't see 4 of them on the wrong side of the line. Don't know how that happened. I'm blind, I'm deaf. I want to be a ref. But with this one, American Ethan Havertz made, I think, 2 penalty saves in this one. Like, looked really good.
Where was he previously? Was he at Forest?
I think he was.
I was
going to
look that up before we went live.
He was with Forest when they were in the championship, and then they moved him.
Yeah.
When they got up to the Premier
Because
League.
I think that we got Forest in one of the cup competitions before they got promoted, and he was in goal for that game. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny how he had his moment where it looked like maybe he'd make a play to be the actual U.S. men's team option, but yeah, I don't know. I've always been impressed with just like his like no nonsense goalkeeping. I don't think he's like a spectacular goalkeeper, but he does his job most of the time.
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, and for Cardiff, I mean, not for nothing, you're in the fucking fifth round. You're down near the bottom of the championship right now. Got a real big match against Pompey coming up this week, so this could be the thing that gets you over the finish line, right? This could be the thing that gets you out of the bottom and help you advance. You know, so good win for them. And like I said, it was the most entertaining game of the entire weekend. Now, where I say that was the most entertaining game, Preston North End and Wickham was the exact opposite of that. In fact, it was probably the least entertaining game of the weekend. And I was going to watch like the goal zone thing, but the goal zone thing was my match and it was ahead of the stream on my TV. So I'm like, why bother? I'll just put on another game. And I put on this game and I was like, why did I put on this game?
Yeah.
It was so dull and boring. And I love Geckel when I was talking with him, the saying that he used. He goes, hey, it's Preston North End. The season's still going on, and we already know they're not going to get promoted and they're not going to get relegated. That's Preston North End.
Yep.
And they advanced in the cup. Okay. It's only a matter of time before they won't be in the cup any longer, and I imagine that'll be the next game they play.
Right.
Finally, the case with Millwall and Leeds. Honestly, I was watching the City Leyton Orient match, but knowing one of our regular listeners, Geckel, was watching, I was just like, fill me in, let me know what's going on, shoot me text. Kind of like how all we did was sit there and just text back and forth the entire day on Saturday while the games were going on. And he was like, it wasn't like Leeds did anything ghastly. Leeds played well. They just made a couple of mistakes. Those couple of mistakes resulted in the ball in the back of the net.
Right.
And they just were never able to get themselves out of it. They had an opportunity to score a penalty. They missed. Like it just, and for them, really, they want to win the fucking championship.
Right.
They don't want to just gain automatic promotion. They want to win the fucking league. That's what they want to do. And Sheffield's made a really good push with signing players to really go after them. That's what their focus is now. And you could tell. And okay, so they're out of the FA Cup. They've never been a particularly good FA Cup team as it is anyways, And hey, in Millwall, because we're going to go ahead and get into the next round. We get a really tasty London derby with them, so that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Start off with the winner of Exeter City and Nottingham Forest will be hosting Ipswich. Then we have Bournemouth to host your Wolves. It was fun while it lasted for you.
God damn it.
Preston North End and Burnley with Preston North End hosting. That does mean at least one championship side will be in the quarterfinal. That is a guarantee. Here's the tasty one is Palace to host Millwall.
That'll be a good one.
They are both kind of south west in London. They're both kind of dingier parts of London. They're both a little rough around the edges.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun fucking match.
Yeah.
More so even for just the supporters. Like it's going to be a right proper just people yelling obscene shit at each other. You're definitely going to hear cunt over the airway of the TV loudly multiple times.
They'll have to apologize for fruity language.
Yeah, that one's going to be very fun. Mel's Villa gets to host Cardiff. Villa secretly, that's a team that could win this thing. They really could because they're good enough to go toe to toe with all the big clubs that are still in it.
Right.
And like you said, the big clubs that are still in it have not been convincing. Like United and City have not been convincing at all, right?
No.
And the only one I think that they need to be worried about for Villa is staying away from Newcastle because Newcastle has their number. That's really the key thing for them is not play them. We have Manchester United host Fulham. I think this is the fourth time they're playing each other because I think they played them in the League Cup as well. For me, I'm just rooting for Fulham. Like I told you, I want Manchester United out of this fucking tournament. I just do. What will likely be the most entertaining match is we have Newcastle hosting Brighton. So two fairly active teams. It's going to be great at St. James Park. Little inconsistencies from both of them. So that's, like I said, I feel like this is going to be the funnest matchup as far as two decent teams playing each other. Plymouth Argyle. You went to Bournemouth, you knocked them out of the cup. You hosted the best club in possibly all of Europe, and you beat them. What is your reward? Manchester fucking City at the Etihad.
I want to make a small correction. They went to Brentford.
Yeah.
And so I could sit here and say saltily, and I will, that Man City's road to the cup has been Salford at home, Leyton Orient away, and Plymouth at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to flip it on its head and say Plymouth have been given an easy ride. They went to Brentford, where Thomas Frank doesn't give a shit about the cup and rotated. They hosted Liverpool, who rotated their entire team, and now they're going to City, who can't play. And almost at least drew, if not lost, to Leyton Orient. This is an easy ride for them.
I tell you what, there is definitely... I mean, I hate to go ahead and do my Alex Jones, I have the document Saturday thing here, but there's definitely some like cold envelope, cold ping pong ball bullshit going on for Man City.
You brought on the right person. I am not really a conspiratorial person, but Wolves have had 3 away games for the cup. Okay. And what the hell is this from City? Are you kidding me? Also, we play Bournemouth away 2 weeks in a row. Like we have, and in between is a midweek game to Fulham that we have to host. So it's not even like they can stay down there for the Bournemouth game.
So you got to travel down to the South Coast twice. Like, yay.
And you know that they're just going to change it for the TV schedule. It's going to be like Monday or something, you know, and the supporters won't be able to go. It's a terrible draw. And City, again, get rewarded for this mediocrity.
Oh yeah,
by hosting
this
Plymouth.
Is
Are you kidding me?
Some Patrick Ewing to the New York Knicks shit going on right here. There's no. This is a cold envelope, no doubt about it.
Sure money.
Mr. Graham lost again because he is terrible at betting. It's just what he does. He sucks at it, and so he is currently down 2,200, mind you. We've only bet on 22 games this year. We bet 100 on each one. He's down 2,200, so he's a big whopping 0 for 22. He is going to go ahead and go with
9-way parlay.
Actually, not a full 9-way parlay, but it's still
Not good gambling.
Villa to beat Ipswich, Arsenal over Leicester and over 2.5 goals, Bournemouth over Southampton, and Forest over Fulham for plus 1150. It sounds logical, but something always gets fucked in his bet. I'm just telling you, something always gets fucked in his bet. Now, me, on the other hand, I keep winning, and I am now currently up $1,223.
Big Sam's Lock of the Week.
Did you know that 31.81818181818181818181% of the time it works 100% of the time? Doing a risky one here. Doing a big risky one. I am going to take a double draw parlay.
Oh.
I am taking Forest to draw at Fulham and Man U to draw at Spurs for $1,084. It was, the odds are just too good. When I was looking at I was like, odds are really like both of these games are not going to end in draws. They could. They really, really could. They're not going to, but lose 100 to win 1,000. I'll take that.
Unsurprisingly, I have the most doubt about the Forest game.
Yeah.
Being a draw. But the United Spurs one, I love that because I love the narrative of like probably like United being like, say, 2-0 up for most of the game. And then like Spurs score 2 quick goals at the end. And it's like neither set of supporters can quite decide like whether this felt like a win or felt like a loss.
Richarlison comes off the bench on one leg and scores 2 goals. Yeah, it's definitely. I know that narrative. I know that narrative well. Yeah, it just seems like the way it should go. And then we're forced to talk about the match because like the last 5 minutes was great, and the rest of it was just horrible to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be 2 penalties to Fernandez on like questionable calls. Be like the softest
100%.
penalties ever.
Honestly, don't even play the match. Just let's write it right now.
There it is. It's already done. Football Manager, boom, finished, ready to go. All right, well, that is going to wrap it up. Danny, I know exactly what you are going to talk about. Tell us how the ladies did this weekend.
Yeah, they gave a good account of themselves. So the Wolverhampton Wanderers women drew Manchester United women, who are second in the WSL. Wolves women are in the 3rd tier. They are second, but only on goal difference. And the other 2 teams at the top are much better funded than them. So they're really having a heroic season in that sense. And then to get this draw was a really fun one because it's one of the biggest teams in the country. Obviously, Chelsea are sort of running away with it in the women's division, but Manchester United is Manchester United, and they have ridiculous amounts of money. And meanwhile, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is like making them live in trailers or whatever the fuck he's doing. But anyway, a very good team nonetheless. A fun little footnote is that American Fallon Tillis-Joyce was in goal for them.
Oh, fantastic.
She's their backup goalkeeper, and she's a really good goalkeeper. But yeah, the win here of us losing 6-0 is that our bitter rivals West Brom lost to them 7-0 in the previous round. So one better. Yeah, but it was a really good occasion. Obviously, no Wolves fan had any expectations of a cup set. I mean, this would be like, I can't think of one men's or women's that would stand up to this if Wolves women had won. This would be beyond Tamworth beating Spurs if that had even happened, you know. But it was a massive occasion. They made the correct decision to play at their home ground, which is where AFC Telford play, which is the SIA Stadium, and not at Molineux because, like, you know, they're going to draw 5,000-6,000 people, but in a stadium the size of Molineux, it's still going to feel empty. Yeah. So they completely sold out the SIA Stadium. I think the official attendance was 5,008, and their previous record was 3,800, which was at Molineux. So, like, it was massive. Hopefully, a ton of those fans come back. Wolves women are still pushing for promotion. They once won their league, won this league, but back then there was a playoff between the North and South divisions, and they lost that playoff game, and so stayed down. That has now been eliminated, thank God. But they still need to win the league against 2 better funded teams. So it's going to be kind of a straight shootout between 3 teams through the end of the season. So that's what I'm looking forward to. it was really fun also because, of course, the Adobe Women's FA Cup gets put on YouTube, especially with these big teams. And so I actually got to watch them for once. Normally I'm just listening to it on the radio. But yeah, it was an amazing occasion. I had a great time watching them, even though they lost 6-0. The first half especially, it was some really heroic defending, and they weren't just sitting back the entire time. They were trying to be adventurous as much as they could against people who are literally full pros. We have basically 3 contracted players, and the rest are all full-time something else. So, yeah, it was exactly what you want out of an FA Cup game.
A good comparative would be for anybody that's watched Welcome to Wrexham, the entire second season, they weave in the women's club as well, and seeing the variance of differences. And this is, the men's club is in the National League. At that time, they're technically not even in professional football.
Right.
Same thing with the Wrexham women's team, and to kind of see the disparities and the ownership of, Rob and Ryan realizing, going, wow, this is bad.
Yeah.
This needs to be fixed. Like, how do we make it better? And the unfortunate truth is your men need to go up the table.
Yeah.
There'll be more money to then. But fortunately, unlike in your scenario where your owners aren't spending the money.
Exactly.
It seems like in that case, Wrexham's going, okay, well, we're bringing the women with us. Like, as we go up, we're going to invest into them to make sure they go up.
Well, and absolutely. And that's the stunning thing. I mean, one of the real silver linings to me as a person who loves Wolves women and follows them every week is seeing in the sort of like Wolves Twitter community, people who I know don't follow them, at least not closely. They'll have watched this game. People who are like big characters in the Wolves community locally, who aren't necessarily plugged into the women's game, and seeing them have takes afterwards, about how like, oh, we should really be funding the women more. And it's like, yeah, that's what we've been saying. And the amount of money is so small. I mean, the thing that we like to point out, because it's the starkest contrast, is like, the amount that these two teams that are better funded in our league are spending on their women's teams is like between £1 and £2 million. Wolves men's team spent £12 million on agents' fees last year.
Right.
And it's like, that's just the reality of a Premier League team. But the point is that this is a pittance in comparison to the amount that gets spent on these things.
This isn't much.
Yeah, and the gap between the funding of, Wolves women and Manchester United women is probably only £5 million, which seems insane right now. But it's just, that's because women's sports is still consistently undervalued. You have the best player in the world, I would argue, going for a record fee this year, Naomi Girma to Chelsea, £1.1 million. It's like, it's insane that like people will say like, oh, there's not as much money in the women's game, but there's some money. There's plenty of money. And the fact that the best player, the most expensive player, is only £1.1 million is like insane to me.
You can't get a 16-year-old kid for under $2 million.
Yeah.
In the men's side.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if that was the best men's player, that would have been $100 million signing.
Yeah.
The transfer fee. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you're right. And of course, please plug the show. I know you're recording tomorrow night.
Yes, and an actually good time to announce this and do this plug, because we are recording tomorrow night. So I am a regular member. I'm the social media manager of Whole Lot of Wolves, WHOLELOTTA Wolves, just like the Led Zeppelin song Whole Lot of Love. Whole Lot of Wolves. We're recording tomorrow night. That's Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And obviously we talk about Wolves, and we are the first Wolves USA-based podcast, and still are the first.
Fantastic. Love it. All right. Well, no EFL show this week. There were games, but we're just not going to bother getting into it. We are going to do our injury time, and injury time is where we're going to preview the weekend's action. We're going to talk about the beers that we were drinking and check in on our fantasy team, and of course, our adopted club, Hibernian. And should you want to find that, you go to patreon.com/DU Football Show. And for $5 a month, you have our sound check and injury time. And our sound check, would it shock you to hear we talked about the football halftime show? Not one bit. Till next week, everybody.